Hi, everybody. My name is Gary Gomes. I'm here to talk to you about Vedic astrology, how it affects the world, how it affects you as a participant in the world, and how it affects your sign. So, we will have some interesting forecasts coming up in the next few weeks. We have some guests coming up over the next few weeks. I haven't yet scheduled some of them, but we will have some guests. And I think one of the things that I want to talk about today is Saturday, October 7th, is the start of the um, conflict in Israel. Now, before I go on to that, I have drawn up a chart for the event. But before I go on for that, please let me know if you like this kind of coverage or not. And also, please let me know some other things you'd like to see covered on this particular channel. If you would like me to see me to do different things or different kinds of analyses, I'd be happy to do that. And I'll look at the current situation in between Hamas and Israel. Today, I'll also look at your individuals' astrological signs for the upcoming week, and I'll also give you a map of where I expect trouble to start or good things to happen over the next week. So, uh, without further ado, if you would like to contact me for readings, my prices may go up in 2024. I'm not sure yet, but if you'd like to contact me for readings, please call me at 508 525 0001 or contact me at Gary Gomes G at gmail.com. Again, that's 508 525 0001 or at Gary Gomes G at gmail.com. So let's pull up the astrology map for a few minutes. And as some of you may recall, last week I did warn of a war outbreak with the Mars Ketu conjunction. That's a pretty safe prediction. Uh, we also have, so I'm going to show you the chart for the Hamas attack. We'll do it three times. Then stop the share. That didn't take. And you'll notice me breathing a little bit more deliberately as to keep my voice steadier. And I'll be pausing a bit more than I normally do. So you can get the full magnificence of my sound. All right. So see now, because I know sometimes I do speak too rapidly. I don't pause enough, and that can make my speech a little bit tougher to hear. So that's okay. So that chart should show up. Now, this is the chart for right now, and I'm going to switch to the chart for the Hamas attack this morning. This is an estimate. It's not a precise time. Um, so it the attack um, was announced by Hamas around 6:30 in the morning, and it said within 20 minutes. So I took the liberty of setting the time for 6:10. Uh, they had announced the rockets would launch 20 minutes. I assume earlier, within 20 minutes. Um, it could be later. It doesn't change the rising sign at all. It might change the navamsha charts, but one thing I will draw your attention to is the navamsha chart, the main birth chart, and the navamsha chart both have Mars and Ketu in Libra. The reason that's significant is because it's a position called Virgosa. Virgosa means in the same division, not literally, but in the same um, um, sign. Okay, so basically, you have the only other planet you have aspecting this, excuse me, Saturn's aspecting Jupiter, so it's a call back to the past. So this is 50 years after the Yom Kippur War started. And also Jupiter's aspecting Mars. I use True Node, for those of you who aren't astrology geeks. True Node is a node adjusted for retrogrades and direct motion. And Vedic astrologers Indian astrologers usually use mean node. And there's not much difference between the two. K2 is a little closer to Mars if we use mean node. It's around 1 degree and 12 minutes, if I recall correctly, but they're still both in the same sign. And so this would be an important trigger point for a war. And I said this last week. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean a global war, although because we have Jupiter retrograde, it is a callback to the past. There will be other actors involved. Um, and also, interestingly enough, I think one of the things that was so startling about this attack was that Israel didn't see it coming, or they didn't have, um, they pride themselves on the Netanyahu government was, and this isn't a criticism of the Netanyahu government by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not criticizing any government. But basically, Netanyahu has said, you'll be secure with me as prime minister. And I think one of the things that happens is with this Jupiter in the fourth house and with Venus in the 12th house, this is a perfect time for a secret attack. Mercury's in the first house. The 12th house Lord is in the first house. Rahu's with Jupiter. Saturn's aspecting Rahu and Jupiter. It's a surprise. It's a shock. Okay. And obviously, it'll start a war. The length of this war is difficult to see. It may be very, very fast from what I'm looking at from the chart. But it's been carried out at multiple levels. Apparently, there are kidnapping. People have been kidnapped by factions um, by Hamas factions in Israel. There also are there was also an offer from the opposition party to form a coalition government, form a unity party with Netanyahu. Um, I'm thinking he may do that. I don't know about right away, but fairly soon. And but the Saturn aspect on Jupiter to me means it's going to last at least a couple of months. Could it turn into something bigger? Um, I'm not sure. I'm thinking by November this will largely be over. And one of the reasons I'm saying now again, Saturn aspecting Jupiter is a relatively it could prolong until next April. That's possible. The United States will surely be sending more foreign aid to Israel. Okay, because Jupiter is with Rahu, and that's there are historical allegiances with Israel. That'll certainly happen, but I'm hopeful for a peaceful resolution rather quickly because Jupiter's aspecting Venus. That's one of the things that I'm kind of hoping. But I had said there would be a war or a war activity last week. I didn't think it would be a world war. It is a major conflagration because anything affecting the Middle East tends to be major. Will it spread out? I'm tending to think not because I'm thinking Saturn's aspect on Jupiter will keep it fairly confined. However, um, there have been, and the moon's in Gemini, it's in Punarvasu Nakshatra. Hopefully, it won't last that long. The planets really responsible for duration of activities are Jupiter, Rahu, and Saturn, and they're all involved with each other right now. So pessimistically, 6 months. Optimistically, uh, maybe within maybe a reduction in hostilities within about a month and a half. But this is a dangerous situation, so I don't want to minimize the importance of this. This is fairly serious, and the reason it's fairly serious is because you have um, there are tensions within certain regimes like Saudi Arabia and also in Iran and also in various other countries around that region that would make it tempting for them to pile on. There are also tendencies in Israel which could um, trying to think of a good way to put it, encourage them to be extraordinarily aggressive. Now, again, this was an act of war. People were kidnapped, people were killed. I'm not saying they shouldn't be aggressive, um, but I'm worried that there may be an overreaction. Mars aspects Jupiter. This could lead to a heightening of hostilities, especially over the next 2 months. Okay, so this earliest optimistic prediction of hostilities ending is about I say late October, early November. Um, this will obviously have something to do with oil supplies. This will obviously have something to do with the economic situation. It'll make economic conditions worse. And I just hope it's over quickly. I hope I'm wrong with Mercury in the first house. I just hope it's over snap. And but I'm worried that even a 2-month war could uh, turn into something much more serious. But I'm somewhat optimistic because Ketu's gradually moving out of that sign, moving into uh, Virgo within the next few weeks. Mars will stay in the sign for about another couple of months. So the Mars Jupiter opposition will continue. And hopefully it'll be resolved quickly. But like I said, there are hostages involved. Saturn's aspect on Jupiter tends to fight diplomatic um, resolution. The temptation will be to send a lot of weapons in from both sides. So uh, let's all pray that I'm wrong. All right. So let's go back to the map for right now. And we can see right now we have a Scorpio rising. Scorpio is connected with subterfuge to a certain extent. It's in the 12th house. So there are machinations being set forward for conflicts behind the scenes. Um, Venus is, um, and again, I'm trying to think whether or not this will have anything to do with the Ukraine conflict. And I'm thinking indirectly because Iran is involved in Ukraine. It might, and North Korea is uh, also threatening to get involved in Ukraine. So again, it might. But again, we're seeing this large, what I would call secretive attack. Um, this is the 6th house, so this kind of means expansive conflict right now. Moon is in Cancer, and it's still in Purnavasu Nakshatra, which is a Jupiterian nakshatra. And Venus is in the 10th house, but aspected by Saturn, so that means slow resolution. And Venus won't be in much position to help for a couple of months, to be honest. So you may see a lot of efforts to increase prosperity, uh, but a lot of them will be thwarted or hurt by this particular combination, and you'll start to see heightening tensions over the next couple of months. Again, like I said, I don't think we're going to see. This is a trigger. This is a gun pulling a trigger, or a finger pulling a trigger. Excuse me. And I think one of the things that so the impulse is for on the other side to pull the trigger. There's one thing I'm kind of optimistic about is the Saturn aspect in Jupiter. To me, indicates the attack was planned um, somewhat in isolation. I don't think Hamas got, other than weapons, got a lot of help planning this out. We may see contradictory evidence to that later on, but I think one of the things that's dangerous is that Jupiter in Aries will give leaders sort of a reason to excite patriotic fervor. And with Rahu being in this particular sign, it'll be easy to encourage radical action. Okay, so it's really kind of a mess, if I'm honest with you, if I'm giving you my true feelings about it. But I think it can be resolved within a couple of months. That's my optimistic. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe when Venus enters Virgo, which will be in about 25 days, 25, 26 days. Mercury enters Libra. We'll get a kind of a cancellation effect because Mercury will be in Venus' sign. Venus will be in Libra sign. Will be in, I'm sorry, Mercury will be in Venus' sign. Venus will be in Mercury sign. And there'll be some kind of a way to persuade people to back down through political means with the Mars Mercury conjunction, along with and Ketu will be in the same sign with Venus. So I'm hoping that that's going to be more of the case than that there'll be some kind of a political remediation of this. But yeah, this could be long, it could be short. And it could raise tensions in the Middle East once again, unfortunately, as if they've ever gone away, in all honesty. But there have been times when we've been able to reach some level of equilibrium. President Carter tried that. Several presidents after that tried that as well. And unfortunately, it never lasts for a long, long time. But Israel is undoubtedly the most powerful country in that region. So it really looks more like Israel, at least to me, seems to have the upper hand. The only way it'll be threatened is if you have Iran and uh, maybe Saudi Arabia entering into the fray. And I just don't think the Saudis are, I'll have to look at the Saudi maps and um, I haven't looked at the Israeli map, but basically this is the trigger. This right here was the trigger. So we do have the war as prophesied by many astrologers. Um, Again, hopefully, I'm optimistic this can be contained. Um, but let's look at other events. So there will be a lot of behind the scenes negotiations going on. Um, the economy looks good in the short term, but within about a month, you will see a slowing down of the economy. I'm relatively confident of that. And also, excuse me, also, uh, Rahu slipping away from Jupiter will throw less illusion on. Um, it will reveal more truths about politics and political leaders. Um, I think overall, if Ketu is merging with Mercury over the next month or so, and if Mercury merges with Mars um, over the next roughly 18 days, you're going to have a lot of lying. You're going to have a lot of misrepresentation. So that, unfortunately, that trend won't go away really until around at least November of this year. So I think um, this gives the sign connected with the media or the planet connected with the media excuse me, is exalted right now. And I think that makes it easier for them to blast out stories um, and incite people. And that's true not only of Israel and Hamas, it's true of all politics over, pretty much around the world. And so we're not really going to get a break from that um, anytime soon. The only optimism I have is that Rahu separating from Jupiter will eliminate some of the cloudiness about leadership, but Saturn will still be aspecting Jupiter until April. So we'll still have a lot of stupid decisions made. Okay, if I'm being quite blunt, I'm deliberately being blunt here. So we have, in terms of domestic action, Saturn's in the fourth house. Domestic economies are largely slowing down. Um, you won't see a real problem with debts coming due until about late November, and Saturn goes direct. And you won't see any kind of affirmative action in that direction until roughly uh, April, when Jupiter enters Taurus. So we have a ways to go. At least with Rahu, um, at least you'll have um, some kind of more recent judgment. At least with Rahu gone from Jupiter sign, you'll have some more recent judgment. But the world political map is changing. The moon in the ninth house indicates change uh, of, the, of the world map to a certain extent. Venus in the 10th house indicates interest in peace, which is aspected by Saturn, so that's kind of destroyed. And Mercury in the 11th house, along with the Sun, indicates government using media. So that's not really a big surprise. The overall thing is Sun and Mercury are never truly separated from each other. It's only rarely they actually move out of combustion range. And so you have this sort of a phenomenon. Also, one thing I did mean to mention last week, and that was Sun and Mars were in combustion range more so last week than they are now. Um, so Mars is about 13 degrees, 13, 14 degrees away from the sun. That's still combustion range according to the classical text. So combustion essentially fires up a planet and makes it more angry. And in terms of domestic politics, we've seen that happen with both Biden and Trump. We've seen it happen in the Republican House leadership battle. But we're also seeing it in domestic politics, in that more and more people are getting concerned about the border crisis in the United States. And in Canada, I've seen Prime Minister Trudeau under increasing attack. Yeah, France is still a mess. And overall, we have a lot of rebellions or civil unrest around the world. I don't think that'll go away anytime soon. This is sort of an outgrowth and of patterns that started roughly 60 years ago, 50 to 60 years ago. So I think we're not out of the woods yet. Um, will there be a new disease? Possibly, but I'm tending to think when Ketu and Mercury comes together, that'll be more likely the time we'll see it. And I don't think it's going to be as dangerous as COVID was. Okay. So, yeah. So it's an interesting time to be around. All right. Some reason for optimism. Venus does benefit from Saturn's aspect because they're friends. Mercury is strong, it's exalted. So if you want to do anything on a personal level in terms of requesting money or requesting or bargaining, it's a good time to do that. Um, Mars is with Ketu. Just don't get into any arguments with anybody because most people will be extraordinarily short-tempered. And also, Saturn's aspecting Scorpio is aspecting the first house by retrograde aspecting Mars and Ketu. So again, like I said, it's just sort of a nasty situation. We're expecting everything to be perfect and on the level, but I think it's going to be an interesting year politically across the world because we're going to see a great deal of governmental scandal still persisting, triggered by Rahu with Jupiter, but not going away soon. Okay, not really dissolving soon. So let's go over to the individual charts. So Aries has Rahu and Jupiter in the first house. Moon is in the fourth house, a great deal of attention being paid to home life. Some problems with children and luck. So with Jupiter over here, there's a lot of attention being paid to expenses and also to um, improving luck for the individual. Mars is in the seventh house along with Ketu. Try to keep out of arguments with your wife or a relationship partner, your spouse. And I'm not necessarily saying just wife, spouse in general. And again, there will be a good ability to overcome disagreements through negotiation. With Taurus in this as the sun sign, rising sign, that's May 15th to June 15th. We have Moon in the third house in its own sign, which is a good place for it to be. So this sign will be very sympathetic, very empathetic. It'll feel a little bit depressed that it can't buy as much as it wants to because Saturn's aspecting Venus. But it will be forced to spend because of friends and also relationship partners. Venus is in the fourth house. Again, a lot of focus on home life. Mars and Ketu are in the sixth house. So again, try to stay away from arguments. Mercury and Sun are in the fifth house. So there'll be a lot of focus on children for the sign, a lot of focus on satisfying their wants and desires, and a lot of hard work for this sign. For Gemini, that's June 15th through July 15th. You see um, moons in the second house, so you'll see an increase in income. So that's a good thing. A lot of self-control and self-discipline. So although it will want to give a lot to other people, it really won't be able to. The Sun-Mercury conjunction, I'm actually rather favorably disposed to for this sign because in terms of emotions, in terms of matters of the heart, it will be a lot more clear thinking, a lot more calculating, a lot less easily fooled. So let's put it that way. Mars and Ketu are in the fifth house, so again, increased danger of arguments with either lovers or people um, who matter in your life, like children. and also some problems with friendships because Rahu and Jupiter indicates a kind of a betrayal in friendships. The other house you want to look at for this chart is the Lord of the seventh house, namely Jupiter, is in the 11th house. So again, you have to watch out a little bit. That's the Lord of the ninth house. That's right. Well, the seventh house, excuse me, is so there'll be some frustration with relationship partners. Um, in terms of teachers, in terms of general luck, patience is the key aspect of understanding. If you're patient, you'll get what you want by late October, early November. Don't try to rush things, and discard bad friendships. Uh, uh, for Gemini, this is like really a time to open your eyes about friendships, open your eyes about people you think have been loyal to you, and they really haven't been. Okay. Cancer. Cancer has Moon in the first house. Okay, so that's excellent. Uh, so that makes this sign more in control of its emotions, more sensitive, more attuned to the world. Venus is in the second house, better for a financial gain, although again there'll be restrictions on it. Mercury's in the third house, very good at negotiating. Mars is in the fourth house along with Ketu, so you'll have to worry about relationship partners or relationship actors lying to you. Saturn's in the eighth house, so again, some sadness from relationship partners. And also, let's see now, fifth house Lord is Mars, so some fights with children. Saturn's in the eighth house in this chart. We've already gone over that, so there will be a feeling of having really no control over relationship life, and that'll pass within a couple of months. And Jupiter's in the 10th house, so it's a good time to promote yourself, especially career-wise. Make yourself active in media, make yourself active in terms of demonstrating what you've done. It might make you seem like a little bit of a show-off right now, but in the long term, it will work to your benefit. Okay, big breath after that one. For Leo, Leo has some stability, but also some backward motion in relationship life. That means you'll be covering topics you hadn't covered or you've covered already. Excuse me. Mercury and Sun are in the second house, so good, intelligent conversation. There'll be a lot of focus on financial gains. Mars is in the third house, a lot of courage for this sign, as we usually see when Mars and Ketu are in the third. Fourth house Lord is in the third house, so a lot of desire for property, a lot of desire for independence. Venus is in the seventh house. We've already discussed that. Jupiter and Rahu are in the ninth house. Actually, a good combination. So Jupiter and Rahu tend to make this sign more aggressive, more provided with better luck, but the luck will be cleaner. And by that, I mean there'll be fewer obstacles or fewer delays in luck within a few weeks. And Moon is in the 12th house, so again, heavy expenditure patterns, but really for things you enjoy. For Virgo, overall, not a bad placement. Mercury's in its own sign. It's in its exalted sign. Actually, it's heading towards exaltation right now, so it's sharper than usual. Sun is in 19 degrees, so it's around 9 degrees away. According to some classical texts, still combust. According to my experience, not really combust. But Sun's heading towards its debilitation, it's heading towards Libra. So some confidence, you'll see some confidence, also some failures of governments to do the right thing. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at government actions over the next couple of weeks. This is kind of a dangerous time for governments. Sun's moving towards Ketu, which is its enemy. October 14th, I should mention there's an eclipse. Okay, I should talk about that a little bit before this presentation is over. And it's eclipses are actually kind of interesting because it'll take place in Chitra Nakshatra, which is a Mars-ruled nakshatra. So that can mean essentially sort of like unbridled um, destruction of buildings and property. And if we have warlike events happening around that time, I would expect to see a lot of damage to cities in the Ukraine, a lot of damage to cities in Israel, a lot of damage to cities in the Gaza Strip, a lot of damage to cities in the United States. As a matter of fact, pretty much all over the world, a lot of property damage coming up. So, and government reaction is not being suitable to it. There is a danger of fires still from this combination, and especially in terms of Libra and Virgo. We'll get to Libra in a second. Be very careful traveling. Be extremely careful traveling. It doesn't mean you'll get into an accident, but there's strong potential for accidents or injuries with this combination. And also be careful about lifting things because these parts of the body have to do with the intestines and the lower pelvis. So, not the lower pelvis, the upper pelvis. So, the abdominal area. So, again, just be mindful of that. And so, my major candidate for a flu outbreak is an intestinal flu, not really a respiratory flu, but mercury's involved, so that could do a respiratory thing as well. The other thing is, so Mars in the second house with Ketu, be very careful. Saturn's in the sixth house, again, another accident causing problem. Jupiter's in the eighth. Good for research, good for meditation, not so good for travel. Venus, the lord of the second, is in the 12th. So again, some more expenditures, some more heavy expenditures this month for this sign. But intelligence is very high, and there will be some financial gains because of Moon in the 11th house. For Libra, Libra has Mars in it. It tends to sexualize the sign a little bit, kind of unexpectedly, adds a little bit of testosterone to the formula in relationships. Mercury's in the 12th house. That's generally a good placement for Libra, although it does tend to encourage expenditures, but it also encourages spiritual growth. Sun's in the 12th house, but the Lord of the first, so that this is an exchange between the Lord of the first and an interaction between the Lord of the first house, the Lord of the 11th, and the Lord of the 12th. So basically, you have a combination where you can get good deals on things, but you don't want to go too close to the cliff in terms of what you spend. Okay, so good deals, good for money, unexpected sources of money too, because the Lord of the second is in the first. But again, be very careful, especially about accidents or injuries or straining yourself. Saturn's in the fifth. This is normally a good placement for this particular sign. Saturn is still Saturn, so you'll have some problems getting rewards for past life, for past efforts. Jupiter's in the seventh. It'll give you access to new partners or new relationships. This can also include new students or new providers. And Moon is in the 10th. There'll be a lot of focus on career for this sign. For Scorpio, Scorpio has Mars in the 12th house. Again, a lot of focus on expenditures. No sign this month is really expenditure free. Okay, so that's something I have to tell you flat out. And Saturn's aspecting Scorpio, so there'll be a lot of responsibility for this sign. Jupiter's in the sixth house, so again, be careful about diseases, especially going into crowds. Moon is in the ninth house. Overall, this is a lucky placement for this sign. I think overall, Venus being in the 10th house, good for career life, but again, just a lot of work. And Mercury's in the 11th, good for gains, good for financial gains, good for financial improvement. But again, there'll be a tendency to spend a bit too much and a bit carelessly and lose things. Okay. Mars Ketu also means losing possession, so expect to see a lot of that. Sagittarius has Rahu and Jupiter in the fifth house, Saturn aspecting the fifth house, and this combination is really gives this sign a great deal of bravery, but also a certain amount of stupidity because they'll think it can keep on doing what it's done before and not have any consequences from it. The United States has this rising sign, so that's why I'm saying that, and I'm deliberately saying that. Moon is in the eighth house. It indicates some intrigue or some behind the scenes investigation going on for the sign, although it will be valuable. Venus is in the ninth house, but luck is obstructed, luck is denied, agreement is denied. Mercury's in the 10th house, a lot of communications. Mars is in the 11th house with the Lord of the 12th. So again, friends will cause expenditures. Do not trust friends. Do not try to bring in new friends. I mean, it's a bad time to do that. Capricorn has Saturn in the second house, Jupiter in the fourth. Also, Moon in the seventh. So, relationship life with family, community, and spouse will be a little bit afflicted. Okay. But it will still be good for charisma. It will still be good for unexpected windfalls connected with your spouse, your relationship partner. And overall luck for this sign will be relatively good. But again, there will be some property risk with this sign. And again, some risk of what I would call excessive speculation with Rahu and Jupiter being in the third and the fourth house. Okay. Sorry about that. For Aquarius, Saturn's in the first house, Rahu and Jupiter are in the third, Moon is in the sixth, Venus is in the seventh, Mercury, Sun are in the eighth, Mars and Ketu are in the ninth, and that's it. So basically, what this means in shorthand is this particular rising sign will have a lot of self-confidence, a lot of determination, but it will find itself fighting uphill. Relationship patterns, people will like this sign a lot. Venus is aspecting Saturn, okay? It's aspecting Aquarius. So you'll get a lot of attention from persons of interest, relationship-wise. Rahu and Jupiter are in the third house. There's always a struggle between doing what's right and what's expedient for this sign. So that will kind of tie its hands a little bit. Moon is in the sixth house. That's not a bad placement. And as a matter of fact, the seventh house is surrounded by benefics. So that's actually a good placement for possibly new partnerships or new relationships. Mars and Ketu are in the ninth house. That will give some problems connected with real estate and also problems connected with authorities, misunderstandings, and also career misunderstandings. So be prepared for that. That'll lessen as the month goes on. Finally, for Pisces, we have Rahu and Jupiter in the second house. and that'll give desire for wealth. Moon's in the fifth, good luck from children. Venus is in the sixth, some opposition from relationship partners. Sun and Mercury in the seventh, good relationship opportunities, so good business opportunities. Mars and Ketu in the eighth, some being taken advantage of by relationship partners, and Saturn's in the 12th. So again, heavy expenditures. Now the eclipse, just quickly about the eclipse, happens over here roughly. And I'm thinking this will cause, it's happening between Virgo um, and Libra. So basically, this will cause trade issues, health issues, um, and they'll continue for about 2 weeks. They'll extend for about 6 months to the next eclipse cycle. And I think one of the things you're going to see is what I would call a general panic about trade and about government. And how that'll manifest is you'll see what I would call relatively authoritarian measures being uh, imposed in a lot of countries. So that's one of the things I'm most concerned about. All right, so let's look at the time-space chart really quickly because I don't have a lot of time left. Okay, so let's expand this, and I'll do my best William Shatner voice to break it up and make it more dramatic. All right, so in Hawaii, there is a Mercury line extending over Hawaii and the sun. So we're seeing some overreach of governmental authority in Hawaii and Western Alaska and Canada. Okay. There'll be a lot of attention on the West Coast, especially in Portland, especially in Washington and Oregon. California will have some kind of scandal working its way through it, and also some violence, maybe around San Francisco or a little bit, or even in Sacramento, and up through really through Utah, I'm sorry, through Nevada and up into Western Canada. For Jupiter, this actually shows, interesting enough, the spread of migration into the United States over here from Mexico. Venus is over here. There'll be some water problems in, it looks like Minnesota, and all the way down through Louisiana, and even down in southern Mexico. And there'll be some economic decline in near Lake Superior, Lake Huron, and I think down through Louisiana and down into Central America as well. Mercury goes right through Brazil. Brazil seems to be the center of attention. And also we have this moon line going through Argentina and Paraguay and Uruguay and Paraguay up into Brazil. So those countries will have unusual domestic problems, especially connected with media over here, governmental authority over here, and even violence over here. There's a Jupiter line running through Iceland. We'll probably hear a little bit more from Iceland over the next few weeks. There is a moon line running through England, so I'm tending to look at that, and through Norway and Sweden, and I'm looking at some international upset in that part, some problems with the government in that part of the world. And also France has a Venus line and a Saturn line right next to it. Italy and Germany look like they're next on the agenda for domestic problems, and so is in Algeria and down through Gabon, or close to Gabon. And excuse me, and we have uh, a Mercury line. So Turkey is certainly going to be in the news. Turkey, Eastern Europe, Finland, and also we have this descending sun line passing through Turkey down really through Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. So there is danger of Saudi involvement. Um, and we have another sun, sun line running through. Yeah, so this is that's the sun line. Okay, this is a Rahu line, so there'll be some scandals in Saudi Arabia, conflict in Iran up through its northern neighbors, and some conflict in Syria, I think, over here. Um, Ukraine war will not be over, although there will be some movement, but it really won't resolve itself. This part of the world I'm a little concerned about. Uh, over here near northern Iran, and also so that's Iraq, and also this part of the world over here, eastern near Bengal in India, and um, near Cambodia and Thailand, some possibility of some economic issues, economic restraints, or economic not collapse, but constriction. Let's see now. There's not a lot happening over China right now, except for this uh, moon line heading over North Korea and into Japan. So there may be potential for conflict. There is a line heading over, a Mercury line heading over Taiwan. So that could be, we'll see Taiwan in the news. Maybe there may be a strike from China in Taiwan or in the Philippines. And there'll probably be some violence connected with that, but more news. I think more news because it's a Mercury line. And there's a Mars line running through pretty much a sun line running through, excuse me, Australia, North Korea, and close to Japan. So we should expect to see those in the news. Government scandal in Australia, most definitely. And we have a line going down here, or we have a Rahu line over here, and we have a Moon Jupiter line heading over here. Not really adjacent to anything except I think the Marshall Islands and maybe affecting New Zealand. So some change in leadership in New Zealand. That's it for this week. I have to go. It's been fun. I love you all. And tune in next week for more exciting world events and your own horoscope. I love you all, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Please subscribe, like, and be happy. Okay? Subscribe, like, share, and it means a lot to me. And I hope you're all doing extremely well. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great pleasure. Bye. And don't lose the faith.